Welcome to Keeping Current with Grubby and Minx, the only source of news. In this week's episode, Australia sanctions Brazil due to kangaroo exports. The North American heat dome moves over Iowa, and Ariana Grande joins a furry charity initiative. But first, are dragons real?
No.
Oh. The Australian House announces new sanctions on the Brazilian government, as well as severing all diplomatic ties with the country. This is due to Brazilian company Bela Marsupial announcing their new genetically modified kangaroo meat and debuting it on the international market. Here is Minx at Sydney Harbour on the ground with Australian news.
I tell you, Grubby, it's not looking good here in Australia. It's quite a devastating economic time in this nation's history. We're seeing riots, we're seeing looting, we're seeing just absolute chaos.
Minx, from what I understand, kangaroo meat represents a large part of the Australian export market. About percentage-wise, how many families, how many households is this situation really affecting in Australia?
We're looking at about an 80% total
80%.
household number count here being affected by this new economic sanction.
To what degree are the households in Australia being affected? Percent of income loss, what are we seeing per capita, per household?
It's just absolutely devastating. Like, there was people just with empty wallets left, right, and center. In fact, new economic strategies are being thought up by the citizens. Usually, business leaders and governments would lead the charge here. But when we landed in the Sydney airport, we already saw people, carving up their kids and parents trying to sell their meat as the new export.
Oh, wow. I had heard it was getting bad. I heard whole communities had lost their entire income altogether and have had to resort to road warrior-esque relations between communities. It seems the Mad Max film series, once an Australian classic, turns out to be prophetic in nature.
Oh, absolutely. It's no different than other cartoon and movie prophecies here out in Australia. Just absolute devastation. It's odd, too, because, they have so much kangaroo meat here now. They're not exporting it, so I don't know why they've already resorted to cannibalism. It's quite a strange sight.
Market researchers are perplexed why the Brazilian company Bela Marsupial went out of their way to develop kangaroo organisms, these new genetically modified kangaroos, which produce 8 times more meat than the standard wild Australian kangaroo, since really the only people who purchase the kangaroo meat are Australians themselves.
So we're actually getting some pretty interesting developments on that front. We spoke with some local journalists who actually uncovered that an Australian scientist actually went to go work for the Brazilian company, and what initially started as an attempt to create a real-life Jurassic Park failed terribly when, instead of producing resurrected prehistoric animals, they created just very, very, very large kangaroos in mass quantities.
Well, is this related at all to last year's story of the Israeli government resurrecting Tyrannosaurus rexes to unleash upon the citizens of Palestine?
No, it's not related at all.
It's unrelated, just independent.
Yeah.
Okay.
Two freak coincidences in the global news stream.
Well, our hearts, our thoughts and prayers, and our hearts go out to the citizens of Australia. Moving on to larger scope, what do we know about the international community? What are their reactions to Australia's economic crash and Brazil's it appears to be their stubbornness in this economic matter. They appear to be unwilling to move. What are other communities?
So the latest news we've heard from the international community responding to this, one key interview that actually has kind of, I'd say, created the framework of how I think most of the community, international community, has viewed this news story. It was coming out of Britain. The Queen herself actually said, "Good, let those heathens burn." And it seems to be the case that a lot of the developed world, at least, agrees to that. It doesn't seem like Australia has too many friends in this economic battle.
There were rumors of that statement this morning, but a few hours ago, reporters at The Guardian actually confirmed, and they have audio recording. We're attempting to get that now. Hopefully we will have it by the end of the show of the Queen saying good to the pain and suffering and the now Mad Max-esque lifestyle Australians now undergo.
We actually have some reports. We haven't seen the actual videos for herself yet, but actual footage of the Queen herself begging with her advisors to let her board their military jets to actually go and use this opportunity to finally burn what she calls those heathens, criminals, and adulterers. It's quite astonishing.
Oh, well, the future remains uncertain for Australia. This is an ongoing story. We'll report further as time goes on.
If I'm being real, I don't think it's uncertain at this point. I do think Australia is probably not going to make it out of this one. It was a nice ride while they had one.
Are experts agreeing that at this point Australia is not even a failed state? It is a complete write-off.
Oh, absolutely. If we just quickly, I'll get my cameraman to just do a quick pan of the city downtown here in Sydney, and you can see for yourself.
Oh, my goodness!
It's on fire. You know, I believe those are remains of a child. Over there, it appears to be
I believe so.
Just quite a devastating assault.
It's rotting already. That child's been dead for many days.
Absolutely, yes. There's fresh children's corpses and ones that have been here for even arguably potentially before this economic disaster, which is quite disturbing to think about. But
well, we're like I said, our hearts go out to the citizens there, and for our listeners, we will report further as the situation develops. Moving on to international weather news. The reported North American heat dome has officially crossed borders into the American state of Iowa. The state has been experiencing greater energy usage for air conditioning, more heat strokes, what we're seeing in other states, but we're unfortunately seeing a drastic rise of uncontrollable popcorn popping. The state is the largest producer of corn in the country and one of the biggest exporters in the entire world. We're seeing fields, like the corn is not even dehydrated. It's fully hydrated corn ears just popping and covering the ground. And this is causing many small mammals, such as mice and gophers, to be completely engulfed by the popcorn and unable to eat food. We're seeing a massive field mouse and gopher die-off. Now, in the northwest edge of Iowa, Chickasaw County, which is the highest concentration of corn production, we're seeing even the great prairie bison succumbing to this popcorn plight. Live on the scene, we have our reporter Minx. Minx, I don't even see you there. I just see popcorn. Minx, are you there?
I'm here reporting live underneath the popcorn. It's actually quite astonishing. You see, for larger animals such as humans and ones with intelligence, they've been able to survive in this sea of just overwhelming popcorn. Of course, you've heard about the poor, devastating numbers with the prairie bison. You see, those animals are just not sentient enough to find a way to breathe while they're engulfed in this this beautiful, beautiful scene. You know, being a movie fanatic myself, I'm quite enjoying this experience. But the death toll for these animals is quite devastating.
Are the state's butter reserves holding out in this situation?
Well, you see, what I've actually noticed is some of the locals have came up with this ingenious idea to round up a few of the farmers' crop busters, and they've actually ordered in large supplies of butter to crop dust the fields of popcorn with this butter, as well as dropping just large amounts of salt. You see, the drive-in theater scene this summer seems to be looking for quite a great turnaround.
Now, it appears that these quantities of salt and butter are actually leaching into the waterway system. This appears to be what is killing the prairie bison in the area of Chickasaw County. The salt is 3 times greater concentration than seawater in the local streams, causing great dehydration and hallucination, coupled with the buttered ground, which makes the area unstable, and the bison are more prone to slips and falls, especially coupled with their hallucinatory salt-induced state.
It's quite an interesting scene out here now that you mention it. We're spoken to some local experts who are quite certain that this, though it be a fun and exciting summer for a lot of the local teens here, and families as they enjoy this popcorn, that unfortunately it will make this state uninhabitable for likely the next few hundred years. It's absolutely been devastating on the ecology here. Every single frog is dead. They've done a tally. I don't know who had the original note, but some gentleman in this state had claimed to have counted every frog. He did a second count. I don't know how he managed to do that amongst all the popcorn, but he did. And he claims that there are no longer any frogs in this entire state.
Well, Minx, I'm not sure if you heard, about 20 minutes before this broadcast, FEMA announced the cleanup strategy for the northwestern corner of Iowa and the state as a whole by deploying large outdoor theaters to attract out-of-state residents to come and clean up the popcorn. They're playing a variety of movies. Each county is displaying a different genre of film in one big consistent film festival.
Oh, yes, absolutely. I've already been given tickets to many of those showings by the locals here, in fact. I have a ticket for the Top Gun showing here that I'll be seeing before I head back to studio. There's Back to the Future, Back to the Future 2. For some reason, they're choosing not to show Back to the Future 3. It's quite an interesting lineup of classics.
Well, that's rather shocking. Minx, why are they not showing Back to the Future 3?
We've heard from some local residents that Back to the Future 3 sort of has a what you would call the opposite of a cult following, where though most of the residents of these communities are Christian, they are a specific branch of Christian who believe that Back to the Future 3 is actually a direct message from the devil himself.
Well, our hearts go out to the victims there in Iowa. The CDC also announced that if any of our viewers are currently in Iowa, in one of the heavier hit areas, and you find yourself trapped under many feet, tens of feet of popcorn, hold your hand ahead of you, cup your fingers, and move as if in a swimming motion, as if to dig yourself out of the popcorn mess. Now, before moving on from this story, it is unfortunate for us to announce that a grain silo containing at over capacity dehydrated corn exploded as a Iowan middle school class was on field trip. 2 bodies have been recovered, 18 remain missing. Authorities have presumed them dead. Before moving on to our last segment here today, that has been brought to my attention some breaking news. One Mr. Abiola Udoku beloved children's book writer known as the Nigerian Dr. Seuss has been discovered to be in possession of nuclear materials. This is pending a global United Nations investigation involving 60 countries. The situation is developing, and we'll bring you more news as it comes in. And in entertainment news, pop star Ariana Grande joins Furry Charity Initiative. The pop star announced her partnership with the activist and charity organization Hearts and Barks. This organization was started by Alec Baldwin after the death of a family friend's son, Sigmund Hurst, who died under mysterious circumstances in May of last year. Hurst's family and Hearts and Barks have asserted that Sigmund's death was politically motivated, seen to be an assassination of the growing furry movement. Minx is on the scene now at the recent Ariana Grande announcement concert. Minx, what is the scene like there?
It was a great performance tonight by Ariana, our nation's queen, as many call her.
Yes.
A candlelight vigil was held for the deceased, and a ceremonial yiffing party also held in their honor. Heavy hearts were seen amongst the crowd, full of humans, dogs, elephants, snakes, and any animal you can think of, almost as if it was a mascot convention or a sports arena full of different competing mascots. But in this case, it's not for a celebration of a team over another. It's for the somber reflection of a politically motivated assassination of a furry activist.
I was going to ask Minx, sadness is in the air on the anniversary plus of Sigmund Hurst's alleged assassination. Sadness is in the air, but what role is anger playing at this event?
I would say anger. There's an equal mix of anger and sadness amongst the crowd. During the concert, you could hear many yips of disappointments. There was growls. There was roars. There was a whole range of different emotions expressed throughout the ceremony. People ceremoniously buried pictures of the deceased around the concert grounds. Just a display of human unity, or should I say, a moment for the animal kingdom to come together. It was almost as if it was that scene in The Lion King where the new king is born.
Well, Ariana Grande joins Hearts and Barks at a pivotal moment. They appear to be appealing the American Senate to bring Sigmund Hurst's case to the Supreme Court, from what I understand.
That is true. It's due to a Kentucky lawmaker who actually is a furry themselves. So
an outed furry.
They're publicly a furry.
Loud and proud
part of
furry.
that was part of their campaign strategy. Surprisingly Republican too. But yes, a lot of their campaign focused around their identity, often campaigning in their fursona costume.
No. This figure, his name is Matthew Collins.
That is correct.
Of Kentucky.
Yes, and his persona is a gorilla. Yes.
Gorilla Collins has faced much scrutiny from his own party. The Hearts and Barks Association, as well as the furry community at large, have aligned themselves with the Democratic Party. It's interesting that the first publicly open furry is a Republican.
It was quite shocking, and
well, even more shocking is that this Senator Gorilla Collins is outspokenly against reopening this case, and in fact dismisses Sigmund Hurst as a miscreant and public ne'er-do-well.
Yes, I think it shows the sort of political reality of our nation at this moment, where Gorilla Collins he holds those same traditional values as his peers in the Republican Party, but he does recognize that this is a part of his identity, but he does prefer to keep it, as he puts, as traditional as possible. So he doesn't agree with, some of these more, as he would call them, radical furry activists.
The unnatural man-puppy love, and then the traditional man-monkey love.
Correct, yes.
As stated in the Old Testament. Oh, interesting,
yes.
interesting.
He very much so aligns with those traditional values of the Bible, as the Holy Bible.
The Bible, colloquially known as the Yiffle.
The Yiffle, yes,
Right,
yes,
right.
as the conservative furries refer to it.
Well, the proceedings to reopen this case on the federal level remain uncertain. The furry movement has not reached national traction. The LGBTQ plus community has not yet accepted the furry community. They've referred to them as mere cosplayers, which is created complete outrage amongst the furry community.
I think it brings up a philosophical question for our nation, and that is, can love be cosplayed? And I think each of us has to take a moment to reflect on that ourselves.
Maybe it's a question only God can answer.
That's true.
Well, thank you, Minx, for joining us on location at this Ariana Grande tribute concert for Sigmund Hurst. Rest in peace, and hopefully some resolution can be made under the circumstances of your death. This has been Keeping Current with Grubby and Minx. Thank you for joining us. We will return to you next week.